Good afternoon, learners and parents. I am Betty Gilomere-Rousseau, EP Media publisher and regional editor. EP Media is a division of Media 24 and distributes 5 free express local newspapers across the Eastern Cape to over 200,000 households every week. I would like to welcome and thank all learners and parents attending this webinar, as well as the panelists for taking the time to advise our youth and leaders of the future. This series of career webinars, which is sponsored by Isuzu in South Africa, is aimed at equipping and empowering high school learners across the country with information to make one of the most important decisions of their life. This is the fourth of a series of 6 webinars, which are presented once a month. The recording of the first 3 career webinars, which focused on career guidance in general, the Isuzu Chair of Mechatronics at the Nelson Mandela University, as well as careers in the 4th Industrial Revolution and artificial intelligence, are available on the Express Facebook page. All the webinars are recorded and can be used by life orientation teachers in class for learners who could not attend the live webinars. The benefit of attending the free live webinar is that you have the opportunity to ask questions to the expert panelists, and you can win a prize for your school. Today's webinar is about education and the various study options available to prospective teachers. The next career webinars presented by Isuzu and Express will focus on journalism, which will be broadcast on September the 23rd, and another on logistics, which will be broadcast on October the 21st. So for today's webinar, the panelists selected are experts in the field of education, and they work and lecture in this field. In today's webinar, they will give you more information on the tertiary study institutions they represent, as well as all the requirements and benefits of a career in education. So without further delay, let me introduce our panelists. First up is Dr. Muki Moeng, who is the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Education at the Nelson Mandela University.
Good evening, Betty. Good evening, parents and learners. I'm looking forward to engaging with you this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Muki. Also on the panel, we have Rowena Singh, who is the Deputy Head of School for Education at Varsity College. Welcome, Rowena.
Good evening, Betty, and good afternoon to our learners and parents. Thank you for taking the time today to make informed decisions about your future, and I look forward to spending this time with you.
Thank you, Rowena. To tell us more about the opportunities and studying to teach English overseas is Luan Mitchley. She's a teacher, trainer, and senior tutor from the TEFL Academy. Good evening, Luan.
Good evening, Betty, and good evening to all our viewers, learners, parents. Very happy to be here this evening. Thank you.
Welcome to you all, and thank you for your time. While we do not have a representative on the panel from UNISA, we would also like to tell you more about UNISA's College of Education, which offers distance learning in various undergraduate and postgraduate qualifications in education. This is a very popular and affordable way of studying towards a degree in education part-time, while offering students the opportunity to work full-time as a student teacher. Learners must note that applications for admission to undergraduate qualifications at UNISA for the 2022 academic year is now open until the 15th of October 2021. And applications must be submitted online. Next, we will show you a video clip of student teachers who will share the experience of studying part-time through UNISA while working full-time at a school as student teachers or teacher assistants.
So how it works studying through UNISA is I studied BA intermediate phase, so it's from grade 4 to 7. You get 40 modules for your 4-year course, which you do 10 a year and 1 practical a year, which is 25 days out of the year. It's 5 modules per semester, but now everything changed to year modules. So per subject, we get 2 to 4 assignments depending in what year you are. And then we usually wrote semester exams, but now we write end of the year exams online, where usually we would have gone to UNISA or a church to write the exams 2 times a year, but now only once end of the year. So how it works for me, studying while teaching, is teaching. We are learnership students full time. We work 4 days a week. The 5th day we can choose our off day. It's for our studies. Our students, when you from your 2nd year to your 4th year, we have our own. We coach our own teams. For instance, netball, athletics. We as students have our own teams. We had to do the courses though. It is, I won't say it's difficult, but you must be very self-disciplined and time management as well. Also, the 1st year, I would say I really struggled. But from there, it only got easier, and not easier, but I got more manageable. And yes, I thoroughly enjoy being a learnership student. I'm very privileged. It's a great experience that not everyone can have. So yes, I'm very glad for this opportunity. Next year will be my 4th year at my primary school. I would say the practical experience. The practical experience, definitely. You get to see how the class work, how the school work, how the routines work, how to discipline learners. Um, we as students at the school I'm currently at, we don't get treated like how can I say, they treat us like actual teachers. We teach proper lessons. We do crit lessons for our mentor teachers. Sometimes we feel like real teachers. We substitute. So we get the real teaching experience, classes on our own. We've got our own sport teams I think from your 2nd year on. My 1st year we had a teacher we assisted, but from our 2nd year we taught netball. We are on coaches. Of course, we did the netball course. We do the normal duties. We attend meetings. I would say the school we are at really treats us equal. They don't see us as students all the time. They see us as teachers as well. Yes, I would say that the big advantage is the practical experience. Theory is also very important, but I would say practical will really help you once you are done. The practical experience helps you when you're done, because then you know what to expect.
So UNISA, they upload all the semesters work early on in the year, which makes it quite pleasant, as you can really plan and create like a little schedule for yourself, as working full-time is obviously Monday to Friday, and it becomes quite a lot on a person's plate. So, and also with working full-time, you have extramurals such as sport after school, so the days get long, and for students to go home and study is quite a challenge. So yeah, it wasn't really a challenge for me, as I know this is my future, so I know if I really want to do this, I need to give it everything I have. But if I could say almost like a challenge or like a little niggle, the one thing was to stay focused, because lots of my friends aren't really studying and they're doing fun things. And for me to stay focused was quite difficult in the beginning. But like I said earlier, as my future, so I know what I need to do for it, and I'm willing to put everything before going out or seeing my friends. I must say the experience, definitely experience, because lots of students who study first at NMU or something like that, they first study for 4 years. Yes, they get like times where they can come and they observe and they maybe teach for 2 weeks or observe for 4 weeks. But yeah, you get thrown into the mix very quickly. You learn about the admin periods, you learn about the parents, you know how the parents work and what you need to do to be a good teacher one day. And you have lots of leaders here and role models at the school to look up to. They throw you in the deep end, but that's how you learn to swim, and that's how you become a great teacher.
It is not necessarily for everyone, but if you're willing to put in the hard work, you'll be able to do it. It is difficult going home at the end of the day. You're already tired. You've put all your effort in, all your emotions, your physical abilities through the whole day, and you need to go home and still study for a test, do an assignment, plan ahead, give up. It takes a lot of sacrifice, giving up your personal social life. But like I said, if you're willing to put the effort in, it does make it easier. I would definitely say the hands-on experience. It's very exciting when I do an assignment, plan a lesson, which is part of our assignments, or write an exam, and I'm able to apply what I've learned hands-on physically at the schools. Also, it works the other way around. When I'm in my classroom, I'm able to apply what I've learned theoretically through assignments or through tests.
Yes, so that was UNISA students telling us a bit about what it's like working full-time while studying, which is not easy when you're young or you're old. So, and like the one student said, it's all about the effort, and what you put in is what you get out in the end. So today we will also find out about the opportunities in education that's available overseas. At P Express, we have a reporter, Candice Besaidene, who after obtaining her degree and working as a Media 24 reporter, studied to become a TEFL teacher, and she worked for more than a year as a teacher in the Special Administrative Region of Macau before returning to South Africa to work as a news reporter again. So later in the webinar, we will also show a video clip of Candice sharing her experiences as a TEFL teacher abroad. Before I start asking our panelists questions, I would like to remind you that you can ask the panelists questions by typing your questions in the live chat, and we will post those questions to the panelists as time allows after I've had an interview and a chat with our panelists. So first, I would like to introduce ask our panelists to introduce themselves. First up, Dr. Muki. Please tell us more about your background in education.
All right, thank you, Betty. As said before, I am Dr. Muki Muweng. I'm the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Education. I've been in higher education now for 20 years. I'm passionate about teacher education and teaching and learning in general. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you, Dr. Muki. So next up is Rowena Singh from Varsity College.
I've been in education for the past 40 years, and 28 of those years were as a school guidance counselor, assisting students making choices about their future. But in the last 10 or so years, I've been involved in higher education and developing future teachers. And teaching is in my soul, and I'm on the hunt for students who see teaching as a calling and want this profession more than anything. Thanks, Betty.
Thank you, Rowena. Thank you for your contribution as well today. Then also a big welcome to Luan. Luan, please give us some background on your career and experience in education.
Thank you, Betty. So for the TEFL Academy specifically, my work involves teacher training, assessing assignment work as a senior tutor, facilitating the weekend teacher training courses, hosting the 10-hour webinars we run, and also mentoring new tutors. But by trade, I'm also a language practitioner and TEFL and CELTA qualified English teacher. So I also teach English. I'm also currently a Cambridge examiner, and I regularly act as interlocutor or assessor for the Cambridge speaking test at various exam centres in the area. So see, Betty, very busy, but loving every minute of it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. And yeah, and Rowena will tell us more about what it's like studying TEFL courses and working overseas. So my first question is to Dr. Muki. Rowena referred to it is teaching is a calling. So Dr. Muki, what would you say are the characteristics or disposition that one must have when you want to become a teacher?
Thanks for that question, Betty. When you want to become a teacher, you really need to be someone who's passionate about learning, and in particular, passionate about your subject. Because for you to be able to transmit or to relay, the content knowledge and the skills to your learners, you need to be passionate about it. And your learners need to see that. And once they see that in you, they are able really to be interested in the subject as well. You also need to be a good communicator because you need to explain, you need to be resilient. And in South Africa, we know that our education system is riddled with many challenges, and poverty being one of those. So as a teacher, you need to be resilient, but you also need to be someone who's giving hope to your learners. So when they look up to you, at least they know that they will get some kind of support or some kind of advice. But you also need to be adaptable because so many things are changing. There's a pandemic now and we're learning online. So you need to be flexible in terms of your methodologies and how you teach. Thank you for that question, Betty.
Yes, yeah, because one thing that COVID has taught us is to be resilient and adaptable, and that is for all sectors of society. Rowena, what would you say are the best characteristics of good teachers, and what does the day in the life of a teacher look like?
I have to firstly agree with Dr. Muki. It is those qualities that she's spoken about that will hold you for your days as a teacher, because each day of teaching is carefully planned against curriculum requirements and timetables. But to succeed within this structure and accommodate the daily unplanned challenges that come with working with young children, it calls for the attributes of passion that Muki spoke about. You need to be resilient and agile. And agility is a 21st century skill because each day is never the same. And as a teacher with young children, one needs to be able to be flexible and to change with the demands that are required of you. And the pandemic particularly, and the changing landscape of teaching and learning, clearly highlights the ability of teachers to be more solution-oriented, to be flexible, and, as Dr. Muki says, ever so kind towards our young charges. But teaching is more than that. Teaching is not just about what you do in the classroom, it's what you do outside of the classroom, which includes sport and administrative tasks and marking, and really being a parent during school hours as well. And so for me, each day is just so unique in the teaching profession.
Yeah, I'm sure there's never a dull moment in teaching. Luan, I would like to ask you, as far as the TEFL industry is concerned, why is a career in the TEFL industry a good idea for young South Africans?
Thanks, Betty. You know, the TEFL certificate, that qualification takes you places, both geographically and also within the actual industry. The TEFL qualification offers the opportunity, of course, to see the world while earning money. You know, imagine exploring a dream destination while paying the bills. It's a no-brainer. We have course participants who are now flourishing in other countries and also right here at home. And that brings me to the home front. South Africa is viewed as an English learning destination, and this is fantastic news for all young and older South Africans who want to teach English. We have countless, language schools where visitors from other countries come and study English. Over and above that, almost every academic institution has its own TEFL department, where specifically TEFL teachers are employed. So whether it's, looking for something to fill that gap year, whether it's looking for a lifetime career, the TEFL qualification can give you that. And I'm particularly excited about it within the context of South Africa, because our young people are sometimes a little bit, they need a bit of direction. They don't quite know what is exactly for them. And this opens up so many doors. Very excited about it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think just to clarify for our viewers who might not know, TEFL stands for Teaching English to Foreign Language Students.
Yes, teaching English as a foreign language, correct.
As a foreign language, all right.
Yes.
Okay. So, Rowena, my next question is to you. Making a career choice is such an important decision that a child has to make. How should learners differentiate or make a choice between what you want to be when you grow up versus what does the world of work actually need?
Betty, as a school counselor, I've often asked both my learners in school and young children, nieces and nephews, and even grandchildren, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I so often hear that they want to be a ballerina or a fire engine driver. And by the time you get to high school, there needs to be a deeper understanding of self and how that self can be responsive to what the world needs. Now, you always have to bear in mind that the world is changing at an incredible rate and that technologies are changing the way we work. So the world of work is now looking for an agile and adaptable workforce that can multitask and change direction depending on what the current needs are. So always consider the parallels between your passion and what is practical, because ultimately what you want to be is you want to be employable. Thanks, Betty.
Yeah, that is a good answer. No use going to study for something that there aren't much work, out there for you. So, Dr. Muki, what subjects must learners take in high school if you want to become a teacher?
Thanks for that question, Betty. When you want to become a teacher, the subjects, are subjects that you can teach at school. Because I know in some schools they've got, graphic design and all of those. There are some schools that teach those, but mostly you must take, subjects that you can teach at school. For example, for foundation phase, you will have to teach numeracy, literacy, and life skills. And that requires mathematics. And so at our university, for all of our B.Ed programs, you need to have mathematics in high school. So we would require either pure mathematics, maths literacy, or technical maths. So those are the important subjects that you need to have. But then if you teach in high school, for example, then you specialize. So, for example, you must then in high school take maths and physical science for you to specialize in maths and physical science to become a teacher. So you, like Rowena was talking about, carefully, understanding who you are and what you want to be at the end of the day. So it won't help you to only decide late that you want to now become a maths teacher or a physical science teacher, but you've never taken it in school. So you must have taken it in school. But then when we come to intermediate phase, because I'm mostly talking about high school, when we come to intermediate phase, we expect you to teach all learning areas, from mathematics, in economic management, sciences, languages, and all of that, and technology. But at university, we prepare you for that. So it doesn't matter what you've taken in school, then you'll be able to be taught at university and be prepared to teach that in school. Thanks for that.
And Dr. Muki, how long does it take to become a teacher? What are the different pathways?
Yes, mostly it takes 4 years to become a teacher. It's a B.Ed degree, a Bachelor of Education. That takes 4 years, but you can also do a bachelor's degree, for example, a BA, a BSc, or a BCom, and then later on do a postgraduate certificate in education. And both those pathways will qualify you as a teacher. And mostly in South Africa, universities who are offering a PGCE are offering it in high school teaching. And something that I just forgot to mention, the senior phase, because some people don't understand the difference between high school and senior phase. Senior phase starts from grade 7 up to grade 9. And in our schooling context, grade R to 7 is primary school, and grade 8 to 12 is high school. However, we've got this middle that we prepare you for. So those teachers who are prepared to teach for senior phase can teach in grade 7, meaning that they can teach in primary school, grade 7, but they can only teach up to grade 9 in high school. Thanks for that.
All right. So, Luan, what are the TEFL course requirements?
Thank you, Betty. So to enroll onto a TEFL course, you have to be 16 for our online content. So for the online content, 16, but to join our weekend courses, 18. Considering that most matriculants graduate around the age of 17, 18, it's the perfect time to enroll into your TEFL course. So you also need to confirm that you are a native speaker of English, or if you're not a native speaker of English, that does not exclude you from the course at all. You will be able to enroll. You just need to show that you have an English level of C1, which is advanced or above. There are so many tests online where our teachers can test their English abilities. And just to confirm those things, and you'll be able to enroll into the course. It's quite a simple process. Thank you.
Luan, can you perhaps take us through the process of becoming a qualified TEFL teacher and securing a job?
Absolutely. So the first thing, of course, is to enroll on your course. Ours particularly, our course, you have 6 months access to our actual program. And once you're enrolled, Betty, it's time to put in the hours. You've got to dedicate part of your day to study time. With our course, you can study in your own time on any device. The course itself will introduce you to the world of teaching and has been designed specifically for individuals who have never taught before. It'll help you, establish pedagogy. It'll give you the tools and the confidence you need to go out there and teach the most widely spoken language in the world. And then once you complete your course, you write your CV and you start applying for jobs. In fact, many of our students choose to start applying for jobs before they complete their qualification. Employers will very often accept applicants without a TEFL certificate, as long as they can prove that they have enrolled onto the course and started a suitable TEFL course. This is a great way of ensuring that you have a job waiting as soon as you qualify. You will have online interviews mostly. This applies to overseas applications, of course, and also online teaching jobs. If you have employed, for example, to a school in your area or in your home country or in the city where you live, then the interview could very well happen face to face. However, with the actual situation, the pandemic, most interviews are conducted online. And then, there you go. You're ready to start teaching. It's a relatively inexpensive short-term investment that offers a lifelong career. It's very exciting, but quite simple. Thank you.
Yeah, and it is quite exciting to think that you can actually go and work overseas.
Absolutely.
You can go and work overseas, or you can work with overseas people from the comfort of your home as
Absolutely. Well. It's amazing. You travel from your office.
Yeah. Dr. Muki, can graduates from NMU also work overseas with their qualification?
Yes, they can, and we've got quite a few who've done it over the years. So they do, as soon as they qualify and get their certificate and registration with SACE, then they can, teach anywhere in the world. And we've had a few of them teaching, for example, in China, in Korea, and even in England. Yeah.
All right. And Rowena from Varsity College, graduates from there, can they also work overseas with their qualification?
Absolutely, Betty. All teacher education qualifications are heavily regulated and need to be approved and accredited and registered with all the regulatory bodies in South Africa. So regardless of where you study, you can be assured that your teacher education qualification is credible. And as Dr. Muki says, in order to teach in South Africa, you have to be registered with our professional body, which is the South African Council of Education, often referred to as SACE. And if you are SACE registered, and when you do make applications overseas, your SACE number verifies that you have completed accredited qualification in South Africa. So it's true for Varsity College, as is true for Muki's institution and any public or private institution in South Africa that offers initial teacher education programs.
it's actually wonderful to know that what you've learned here and your qualification here is just as valid overseas without having to jump through hoops and have to do bridging courses or write tests and so on to actually be able to work overseas. So it's good to know that our qualification is up to that great our qualifications here are up to that great standard. Rowena, as coming back to South Africa, what's your vision for education in South Africa?
Oh dear, Betty, you've spoken to my heart because South Africa is a land of contrasts and extremes. But the sad truth is the majority of our children are studying under deprived and very difficult conditions. And if we just compare our reading literacy and our numeracy literacy against international figures, we realize that South Africa is not really faring well, and that we as teachers have a lot of work to be done locally here in South Africa. And the solution, or one of the big solutions, are good teachers. And good teachers are going to be the solution to be building capacity and quality education system and contribute to this country's economy. And so my vision in a sentence is just equal opportunities, equal educational opportunities for all of South Africa's children.
Yeah. That is a beautiful vision to have, and hopefully one that we can realize very soon to grow our country. Luan, what career options are available after receiving a TEFL certificate?
Betty, this is probably the question that excites me the most. The TEFL course gives you more than a teaching qualification. It gives you a ticket. So you have a variety of employment options. For example, overseas schools, language schools, summer camp programs, private tutoring jobs, au pair work. And then you're at home. You can also work at a language school. We have so many. And in addition to language schools, many academic institutions like universities, colleges, technikons have their own TEFL departments, where I mentioned earlier, they specifically employ TEFL teachers. Of course, you can teach online. You can work from anywhere in the world. I particularly love this. I do this. You know, it started as a means of filling those financial slumps, those low season slumps. And now I do it purely because I love it. And it gives me the freedom to work from anywhere. You know, then of course you can look at teacher training opportunities within the world of TEFL, paid internships, volunteer programs. In fact, as a part of our community outreach at the TEFL Academy, we partnered with United World Schools to build a primary school in Nepal. And so for this initiative, we required volunteers, TEFL teachers, to go over there and to either help the teachers with English or maybe the students, but just to lend a hand. So there are just so many opportunities. Course writing, lesson plan, you know, there are various websites where you can submit lesson plans and, you know, write content for these websites. There's just so much you can do with this very simple qualification. Well, I say simple, but one qualification, it just opens so many doors.
Sure, it opens the world as well.
It really does. It really does.
So, Dr. Muki, my next question is for you. You know, so now a learner has now, you know, we've talked about equal opportunities and so on in education, but funding is not always easy. It's not always easy for learners to go to university or a tertiary institution. What funding is available for students who want to go into education and to teaching?
That's an important question. And as you rightly say that the playing field is not level. And there's a lot of students who don't get the opportunity to go to university because they don't have funding. But fortunately, the Department of Basic Education has made available, you know, funding through a Funza Lushaka bursary scheme, which is a scheme based on merit. So you really have to pass well. So first and foremost, you must get a bachelor's pass for you to be able to, you know, enroll into a university to be able to do your B.Ed degree. So the Funza Lushaka, on their website, they explain what the requirements are. And every year they change their priorities. So you must look carefully on their website where they would explain whether it's language that's their priority, coupled with mathematics, coupled, with business, or maybe this year business is no longer a priority. So it's important so that when you choose your specialization, you make sure that you choose within those priorities so that you are funded. So a second option for students as well is what we call NSFAS, which is the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, that really looks into funding students who are much poorer, who come from families, who are in a certain band, in terms of their income. And also it's also based on merit because you have to pass. So once you get this funding, you must make sure when you're at university that you don't waste time, you don't play around, you need to pass, because it's easy for you to lose that bursary if you do not perform. So academic performance is very important for you to be able to access the funding, as well as retain the funding through your university career. Thanks, Betty.
All right. Yes, I'm sure students can go and Google it and go and find out more about what funding is available. But it's good to know there is funding available for deserving students on merit as well. Rowena, my next question is to you. We alluded previously to it about adaptability and the changing world of education. I want to find out from you, what role does information and communication technology and the integration of that play in education in a post-pandemic world?
Thanks, Betty. This is so interesting because the fact that all of us are all over the country right now and talking to each other and communicating and sharing is thanks to technology. And so we need to harness this and put it plump in the middle of our education system, because every one of us are influenced by technologies every day. Smartphones, smart TVs, self-driving cars. So education must prepare learners to work in a technology-rich environment and align with fourth industrial revolution demands. And what the pandemic has done is it's accelerated the need to be upskilled in the 21st century classroom technologies as we move into online engagement, and teachers must be tech savvy to teach our digital citizens effectively. What the pandemic has done is it has fast-tracked what we've always wanted to do, but now what we have to do. Thanks, Betty.
Yeah, that is extremely important. If we need to be as digitally skilled as our learners are, to keep up with them and teach them. So before we ask questions posed by our live audience to our panelists, we are going to show a video clip of our P-Express reporter Candice Poseidonov, who will be sharing her experiences as a TEFL teacher overseas.
Okay, so what I had to do to become a TEFL teacher. So firstly, I started just looking online for universities or maybe colleges where I can just do the TEFL certificate, because at the time that I did it in 2018, it wasn't available at certain universities in South Africa. So I came across global language training, which is in the UK. I did a lot of research and I saw that it was an accredited institution. So I actually just applied, I sent in my details, I did the course. Usually the course could take you up to a year. I did the course online. They gave me about a year's time. I finished it. I was a bit pressed for time, so I finished it in about 2 to 3 months. So definitely anyone who wants to do their TEFL and who want to do it online, they can try global language training. And after the 2 to 3 months were over, they contacted me via email. And they said they have my certificate and they can just email it to me, or they can email it to me. And the nice thing about doing it online was I wasn't alone, because I know some people could maybe be afraid of doing it online, especially if it's in an institution that's overseas. So I had a tutor 24/7 that I could just email, or they even gave me a WhatsApp number. And I had assignments that I had to do, and I had an exam that I had to write. So it's actually a very easy process. I think the main thing is just doing your research first. So if you want to study towards your TEFL certificate, go online, do your research, do your homework, and just find out which institution that offers the TEFL is an actual accredited institution, and then you just take it from there. Okay, so I can say that it was a mind-blowing experience. A lot of different things I can actually mention about this. So I know it sounds like a cliche because most people would say, oh, you're traveling, you're going overseas, you're meeting new people. And it does sound like a cliche, but meeting new people is definitely a highlight. It was a highlight for me. And I met people from literally all around the world, because there were a few South Africans. I met people from the USA. I met people from Belgium, literally all around the world, the UK and everything. And it literally broadened my horizons to go overseas, and meeting people from different parts of the world and listening to how they think and to what they say and how they view certain things. It broadens your perspective. It changes your way of thinking. And sometimes you feel like, oh, the world is just black and white. But then you meet all these people and you see, no, there's so much more to the world. So I would definitely recommend people to go and broaden their horizons and meet new people. And I made lifelong friends. I'm still in contact with all of them in Macau. There are also challenges. I am not going to lie, I was so homesick. I think the first 3 months were the hardest for me. I was really, really homesick. But the nice thing about it was I shared a flat at the beginning. I shared a flat with two other South African girls, one from Bloemfontein and the other from Johannesburg. And they really helped me, adjust. And it's a different climate, it's a tropical climate. So it was very, very hot. It was hot. It was always raining. I wasn't even there for 2 weeks. I saw my first super typhoon. And we know in South Africa, we don't really get those types of natural disasters. So it was quite something to see. So we couldn't go to school that day. We had to stay indoors. So the weather, the different climate was a challenge. Being homesick was a huge challenge, but I think the main thing would be the language barrier. Whereas I was in Macau, so it's an island 60 km away from Hong Kong, and whereas probably 95% of the people in Hong Kong can speak English, you'd be lucky to find 5% that can speak English in Macau. They were a Portuguese colony, so it's more Portuguese and Cantonese. So I would even go into a shop, and if I had to ask, for instance, oh, where can I find the toilet paper? They would not know what I'm asking them. So you would see that hand gestures become a skill sometimes, if language is a barrier. But you learn to communicate. You learn a few Cantonese words, a few Portuguese words. You learn to communicate in your own way. And I had a lot of help from people at my center at work, who would just maybe come with me or teach me a few words to help me. So you also had those language apps, where you just type something in English and then it comes out as Cantonese, and they'd be so surprised and so happy because they can understand you. So language is a huge factor, but it also depends where in the world you are. It was still an amazing experience, and to this day, I still do not regret going overseas.
Wow, that looks like she has such a wonderful experience. Those adorable faces. Yeah, it's wonderful, and I'm glad Candice went and broadened her horizons, but I'm also very glad she's back and a reporter for the Express. She's a very valuable member of our team. So yeah, I think broadening your horizons really sets you up for life. That's also very important. We're going to now ask some questions that was posed from our audience. The first one that I think is for Dr. Mukit, and that's from Jared of Pearson High School. How do you choose between becoming a high school teacher or a primary school teacher?
Thanks for that question, Jaren. It depends on what your passion is. So if you know that you are good with working with little children, then primary school is good for you, because we wouldn't want to have a teacher who does not like to work with small kids, because you need to be patient, you need to be kind, you need to be loving. Not that you shouldn't be those things in high school, but more so with little children, because they depend on you, and they depend, and they love the teacher. We all know that the teacher in primary school, the teacher is always right. No parent is right, but the teacher is right. And we can always remember that one teacher that made you feel good in school. So we would like to have that kind of teacher. So when you choose, which, phase you want to teach, it's important that you really look at those characteristics that you have. And then when you go to high school, then you know that you're dealing with teenagers who come with their different, challenges as well, that you need to mitigate, and negotiate around with those learners. So it's important. But in terms of the subject that what you want to teach as well, because in high school then you specialize, so you're not teaching generally to every learner in high school, but you will specialize either in the languages or maths and science or economic management sciences. So that's what you need to do when you want to choose which school you want to teach in terms of primary versus high school. Thanks for that question.
All right. I think the next question is from one of our viewers, also is for you, Dr. Muki. It says, it's from Nikki Philander. She says, I have a HR diploma from NMMU. I'm guessing HR, is that a higher diploma?
No, it's human resources.
Okay. Can I use this to study towards this? In other words, into education?
Yeah, no, I understand the question. No, like I said before, you must have had, studied in a degree or a diploma that offers subjects that you can teach in school. So human resources is not a subject that is taught in school. So you won't be able to do the PGCE, what we call the postgraduate certificate in education. So in your initial qualification, you must have done either languages or economics, but any subject that is taught in school. So those are the things that we look at. And you must also complete those at a certain level. For example, for PGCE, you must have done those 2 subjects on a 3rd year level, because the content must be at a very high level for you to be able to teach in high school. Thanks for that question, Nikki.
All right. Then I've got a question for a winner. It's from Ryan from Grey High School. How does Varsity College combine practical experience with theoretical experience?
Thanks, Betty. Ryan, that's such an insightful question. It shows that you're really thinking about teaching as a profession. Now, a compulsory component of teacher education qualifications is school-based work-integrated learning, which is commonly known as teaching practice. Now, embedded into every qualification is compulsory time that must be spent in school, that is carefully supervised by mentor teachers and university supervisors. And during the time that students spend in schools, they're expected to fulfill carefully structured requirements of the theory that play out into their practice. Further to this, students are also schooled on online teaching technologies, and micro-teaching becomes part of their practice, where they start micro-teaching in small groups to gain confidence as they move into the classroom. So a lot of parallels between theory and application and practical. Thanks, Ryan. Good luck for you if you do choose to become a teacher.
All right. And then I've got a question for Luan. Candice from DF Malherbe asks, how safe is it to work overseas and in countries such as China?
Thank you, Betty, and thank you, Candice, for your question too. I think that the important thing to consider, whether you're considering China or any other country for that matter, is safety first. So yes, it's a very important point that Candice has raised. And the most important thing that I can say is do your homework. Do your homework. Find out as much as you can about a particular country or city where you're planning to go. Join teacher forums, ask questions. Find someone. If you've seen an advertisement online and you're interested in applying, find someone in that area that you can ask outside of the company that are recruiting, and also to really just consider a few options and not sort of narrow it down to just one. Think about a few options of where you can go. Get to know those places through forums, asking questions and so forth. For example, on the TEFL Academy website, our course participants have access to a jobs board. So all the jobs that we put on the jobs board are relevant, specifically aimed at TEFL teachers. So yes, just sort of do your homework, do your research, ask lots and lots and lots of questions. Our visitors that come here to South Africa do exactly the same. Before they come here, whether it's to study English or whether it's just to travel, we find out as much as we can about a particular place before we go there. So this is the best advice that I can give when considering to relocate to another country for teaching. Thank you.
That actually brings us to our next viewer question. Alma Kuris is asking, does one need to know the language of the country as well before going abroad?
For me, Betty? Yes.
Sorry,
okay.
For Luan, that's for you.
Luan. So this was my concern when I was looking at my TEFL certificate, at my TEFL course, and I kept thinking, do I need to speak your language to teach you English? So if you're going to another country, what I can suggest, you don't need to know the whole language, absolutely not, but a few survival words will help. Get to know just a little bit of the language so that you can, like the young woman in the previous video said, if you need to go and buy toilet paper, you can do so. So while you don't need to speak the language, at least get to know a few survival words, survival phrases. And if you're staying home and teaching learners from other countries, you're very likely to have a multilingual class. And I mean, it's virtually impossible to learn everybody's language in your particular class. So to teach English, no, you don't need to speak their language. To get around your day-to-day life in another country, yes, then I would suggest a few survival words and a few survival phrases. I hope that helps.
Yes, I think that's actually a very valid question. I've also wondered about that, and how you survive in a country where you don't know anything about the language, especially if it's an Eastern language, which is not very close to Latin, which is, our French or Italian or that. So I think that is all the questions. So Jan, we've basically reached the end of our webinar. So I want to say thank you to all the learners and parents who attended this webinar. You will find more information on our upcoming webinars on the Express Facebook pages. And here you will also find the link to the recording of today's webinar. Then a special thank you to our panelists for their time. I can see you've got a passion for what you do, and it's wonderful to know that. It just bodes well for education in this country to have people as passionate as you. And for giving your time and telling our learners that actually there is a career where there are jobs available, and that the world is your oyster if you study education, and there are so many opportunities in this, and that's extremely good for our learners to know. So thank you for your time. I'm sure you've definitely lit a spark or steered many of our learners watching in the right direction to make this important decision. And I would like to give every panelist the opportunity to end off with a final word of advice. Let's go with Dr. Muki.
All right. Thanks, Betty. Thank you for making the time to really listen to our advice. What I want to leave you with is that when you want to become a teacher, you don't do that so that you become rich. You do that because you want to change the world and you want to change the lives of the learners that are in front of you and the community around you. Thank you.
Wonderful, wise words. Yeah, rich is not everything. You can be rich by just enjoying every day and getting up for the right reason, for
The
a reason.
satisfaction that you get afterwards. Yes.
Yes. Rowena, final words from you.
Yes, thank you, Betty. It's been a lovely evening. I just want to say to our learners that I really urge you to research. But what's really important is that you ask the right people the right questions, and that you choose this path of study with purpose and with intentionality. Because if you love it, you will succeed at it. So I really wish you the best for today and for always. Thanks, Betty.
Thank you, Rowena. And then, Luan, a final word from you.
To all our viewers and to all our students who are trying to make that very important decision, to become an educator, to teach is an absolute honor. To be a part of someone else's growth and development is a reward within itself. To learn from your students is a gift, in its own. And if you choose to become an educator for the right reasons, you will absolutely love your job. So to everyone making that decision, all the best. I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you, Luan. And thank you to our learners and parents for watching. We'll see you at our next live career webinar, where we will discuss the opportunities in the field of journalism, a field also close to my heart, obviously. This one will take place at 5 p.m. on Thursday, September the 23rd. See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.